Hello, welcome to TV3 News Journal. I'm Carla Beard. The annual Community Bell Concert is set to take the stage on Sunday, December 12th at 2 p.m. at First United Methodist Church. We spoke with director Rhonda Burchett about her involvement with the Bell Choir and this year's concert.
Always loved bells, though. I love the sound. I love the spirit of just kind of washing over you when you're hearing the music and stuff. I've been directing bells at First United for 10 years. This is my 10th year to do this. And we have, I believe, probably have done maybe 4 or 5 Christmas concerts and have done 2 in the park during the Summer Patriotic. We do this just because we love to play, but it's our way of giving back to the community. And it's songs that people recognize and are familiar with. I just hope that people come out. I really do. I'm so grateful for the people that are giving of their time. We've been doing this since August. And I just want a really good audience, for the choir, but I want you to just come and enjoy it. It's a wonderful time.
Rumors have been flying around Connorsville concerning the future of a hometown hotspot, Mancino's restaurant. Since the owners placed it up for sale earlier this fall, everyone wants to know, is it closing? Who bought it? What's going on? TV3 News Journal met with owners Mike and Linda Brock to get some answers to those questions.
Okay, so most of you that are customers at Mancino's know that we have an open kitchen concept. We like this open kitchen concept. It lets all the customers see, exactly what's going on in the kitchen, and we really take pride in how clean we keep the restaurant. So I think it's a really good feature.
One of the very unique things about our restaurants that most of the other area restaurants don't have is the ability to make their own fresh ingredients. We make our own breadsticks and doughs here in the store. This mixer is pretty much the heart and soul, along with our oven, of the business. We start with our raw ingredients, and we pretty much are making breadsticks and doughs every day of the week, so everything's nice and fresh and a little bit different than what you might have elsewhere.
One of our biggest customers, obviously, is the high school, and so for the majority of the high school sports, during their away events, we cater lunches. So before they get on their buses to go to the away events, they get a little sack lunch from Mancino's. And we have other large customers in the community. As Linda said, the other heart of the restaurant is the oven. We have a two-level pizza oven that we use to cook all of the food. Mancino's, all the pastas, the grinders, and the pizzas go through this oven. And everything that we've shown here is included in the sale.
We are open. Our dining room is open. We do offer delivery, curbside, just pickup in general. We have our full menu option. We also do use DoorDash if people are interested in that. Our hours Monday through Friday right now are 11 to 8 p.m. and then Saturday and Sunday are 4 to 8 p.m. We're hopefully looking at maybe extending those maybe after the first of the year, but with the illnesses of my parents, it's kind of taking a little more of our time. So our phone number here is 765-827-6155, and that will get you through to place pickup orders, delivery, curbside, whatever it is you might need.
I'm LaDonna Lynch with American Heritage Realty. You can reach me on my cell phone at 765-265-0357, or my office is 765-825-1103. And this will be a turnkey operation. The owners are willing to stay with the new buyer and show them the ropes, so they get a good head start.
Mancino's is a busy and successful business. Mike and Linda will help the new owners after the sale, but there is no plan to close the restaurant. All of the sports memorabilia will stay with the restaurant. Realtor LaDonna Lynch of American Heritage Realty is representing the restaurant and hopes to bring a buyer and the sellers together very soon. Christmas spirit is on overdrive this month. The Whitewater Valley Arts Association is preparing to host Handmade for You. As elves decorated the large glass windows, we sat down with founding artists Debbie Stanley and Gail Siebert to find out more about this event.
It actually started as a Christmas open house in my apartment on 12th Street many years ago. And the first year I had 2 people who came through to be my customers. And from there, I think the idea kind of is word of mouth and personal invitations. And I just had this idea that it would be great to have a studio tour where we could see artists at work or artists and their work in their own homes. Expanded to the Whitewater Valley Art Association because they were interested in being a part of the tour.
We have down here at the gallery some wonderful artists, and everything is different and unique.
The idea was that everything in the show would be items that were handmade by artists.
So many artists show in here, and so if someone comes in any age, they can find something as a gift for their mother, for the grandmother, or a friend, or a group of friends, or whatever. There's such a mixture here that you're able to find something from all the different artists that we have. This weekend is the show. December 3rd is Friday, and that's open from 3 to 7, and then on Saturday from 10 to 2. Anytime you see the flag out, then you know we're open. Come on in and shop or look around and just enjoy visiting with what artists are usually here. Someone is always here.
Well, we appreciate that there are people in the community that support the arts, and we'd appreciate seeing you this weekend, and thank you for your time and interest in the arts of Fayette County.
The former Vistion building has been mostly empty since the factory shut down in 2007. Carbon Motors filed bankruptcy in 2013, and Wayzata Home Products ceased operations in 2020. Click Studios has continued to operate in the north section of the building. Recently, the 1.7 million square foot building was acquired by Phoenix Investors LLC. Mayor Chad Frank had this to say about the acquisition.
Wayzata closed their doors in early 2020. I began reviewing all the documents to protect the city from any possible negative ramifications. This review process created areas of concern that needed to be addressed, so I reached out to the law firm Barnes & Thornburg, who wrote the original TIF agreement, for more guidance, especially since TIF law is very complex, as you can see right here. The original agreement was written to attract Wayzata to Connorsville, which at the time was a beneficial risk for the city whose economy was declining. Unfortunately, Wayzata was unable to meet their obligations, which left the city in a bad position. Together, working with Barnes & Thornburg, we developed a strategy that took time and perseverance, but ultimately protected the city. This led to the Redevelopment Commission capturing $906,000 that will be used for redevelopment strategies. The city also owned a piece of property on the north end, more commonly known as the 58 acres, that was purchased with grant money to help attract industry. This sat vacant for 15 plus years with no attraction due to a pipeline running through the property that hindered the potential uses. I contacted the grantors and asked for permission to sell the land and allow the Redevelopment Commission to use the money for redevelopment purposes. They approved, and the land sold, allowing the commission to gain $689,000. Together, this has allowed the Redevelopment Commission to gain just under $1.6 million in 2021 to be used following the statutory guidelines set by the state of Indiana. This is a great boost for the commission and the community. The Redevelopment Commission is currently developing strategies to complete projects while creating more funding at the same time. The goal is to continue funding the commission so projects can be continually ongoing.
Thank you for joining us this week. In closing, here is Brad Coulter, Looking Back.
Hi, I'm Brad Coulter, and this is Looking Back. My story this week is called An Intersection of Misfortune. The year 1918 was a tumultuous year for our country. The city of Connorsville was subject to many tragedies of all kinds. One East Connorsville junction that today is one of the busiest was a century ago exposed to many devastating events in a one-year period. The intersection of Vine Street and Patay Street had seen its share of sadness. Edward Enos, an early East Side business, had developed this area. Patay Street, now named McCann, was given its name in memory of his mother-in-law, who was from France. In 1901, a Halloween prank gone wrong had seen the death of a local youth playing a game called tic-tac. This prank would involve the throwing of corn kernels at windows and annoying the occupants. Roy Williams lost his life as the resident fired a warning shot that Roy jumped into. The first tragedy of 1918 occurred on the 21st of February at the home on the northwest corner. The Henry Bragg family lost their son, George, age 19. George had graduated from CHS in 1917 and was to begin study at Purdue in the field of pharmacy in the fall. He was working at the corner drugstore and cut his hand in the early part of the month. Over the next week, it became infected and he was diagnosed with blood poisoning. Very quickly, it became clear he could lose his arm and maybe even his life. He was taken to the hospital and emergency surgery was unable to save him. His funeral at First Methodist Church was attended by 700 mourners. It had been moved from East Side Church due to its size. George was a member of the Fayette County Liberty Guard. The Liberty Guard was enacted during World War I to protect the homeland during the overseas conflict. Several local companies were formed and he was in Company B. 200 Liberty Guardsmen were in attendance, commanded by Frederick Barrows, who led the procession. Also, a large delegation of his classmates marched in together, led by pallbearers Lewis Heeb and Ben Henry. The next blows occurred on the northeast corner where the Connersville Utilities is located. In the spring of 1918, something seemed odd with Miss Ida Eskew. Her beau, Marion Darnell, had not been seen as often at her home a few doors down from his on Vine Street. Their friends had thought their 7 years of keeping company would culminate in marriage, but by summer things had gone awry. On July 8th, it came to a boiling point, and that morning, as Mr. Darnell walked by, he was asked by Ida to come inside. He saw that something was horribly wrong as she asked him to sit with her for a bit. He summoned the neighbors, who found a bottle of carbolic acid nearby. Dr. Mountain was sent for, but by the time he could get there, she was gone. Ida was 51 years old and was well thought of in East Side. Since the beginning of the war, she had been volunteering with the Red Cross and was always the first one to show up for a charity drive or if someone was ill and needed nursing. Her father, Robert, was devastated by his daughter's suicide, and it was feared that Robert, who was age 79, might not survive the heartbreak. Only 3 weeks later, he passed away. Robert Eskew was described as an agriculturist who was widely known, respected, and one in whom men placed their trust. In early October, Winfield Scott Miller became very ill. The Miller family lived on the southwest corner of the tragic intersection. He had been in failing health for a time, but had been holding his own lately. On the 6th day of the month, he died peacefully in the morning. His son Clyde operated the grocery at the corner of 5th and Vine Street. Until a few years later, East Connersville was still a town and separate from the city. 5th Street at that time in East Side was called Main Street. Clyde's grocery business put him in contact with hundreds of customers each day. His happy disposition earned the 31-year-old storekeeper many friends, and he was widely admired. By the fall, the influenza pandemic was ravaging the country. Over 50 million Americans contracted influenza, and over 675,000 died in the U.S. alone. Many locals were ill with this dread, and by the time of his father's funeral, Clyde had it too. Through mid-October, he was able to work, but soon he and his store clerks were all very ill, and temporary help had to be brought in. Tragically, on October 21st, young Clyde succumbed, and the neighborhood again went to the church for a funeral. James McCann was a very well-known member of the Connersville business community. He had been in the mill business and had produced many products widely used in the area, including flour. He was a member of the board of directors of the Farmers and Merchants Bank and was on various boards and committees. His money and expertise were much desired on local ventures, and he was quite wealthy. The 69-year-old businessman had been in failing health for over a year. In several months, he had scarcely left his home. A visit from his daughter caused him to rally around the holidays, but on December 20th, he was taken from life in the fourth corner of the intersection, had crepe hung on the door. Even though his death was not unexpected, this sixth deadly blow to the neighbors was hard to take. He was buried in Delta Cemetery, where he had been a charter member of the board. His daughter donated a plot of land behind the utilities office, and a playground was constructed there for the children of East Connersville. In the July of 1921, McCann Playground was dedicated, and it was a fixture in the area for many years. At some point later, Pate Street was also given his name. Over 100 years have passed since this odd and tragic string of events, but even with the passage of time, it's not hard to imagine the sorrow and the sadness that was felt in this little neighborhood so many years ago.